so it should be absolutely fine.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Well, yeah. Let's get going. I mean, I'm recording, so that's all good. We can go straight off.
Okay.
How have you been, man? How's lockdown been for you?
How's lockdown been for me? I don't know. It's a weird one. It makes you sort of search yourself, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It makes you kind of. Sometimes it makes you realise how important work is to you, and sometimes it makes you realise how unimportant it is. It's a strange one. I think I'll know more even when it's over, or however long it takes. Do you see what I'm saying? But
no,
I do know that I think sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes that's a bad thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think it's definitely just this whole process has given us a perspective on what's good and bad about working. Well, for me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, look. I think if you look at any artist, whether they're a songwriter, a singer, who knows? I mean, an artist, an actor.
Yeah.
You hear about people getting. I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a strange one. Because the craving that I have for being a DP, it sounds weird, but it's an unknown quantity. It's a craving. A lot of people ask what it's like, and it's like heroin.
Yeah, no,
for me,
I completely agree with you. Yeah.
So it's kind of like how obviously being addicted to something is never good, and it's good to have a balance, but you kind of can't help it. It's not like I'm addicted to a bad thing, which is heroin or cocaine or cigarettes or alcohol. But yeah, it's unique. It's unique.
No, definitely.
The lockdown.
Felt myself, wanting and urging to get back to it. Definitely, even though that there are so many nice things about not doing it, i.e., getting to be with the family and relax at home. But then there's still that thing at the back of my mind every day where I'm like, oh, let's get back to work. Let's get back to doing, what we were doing before. Definitely.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like the quarantine has unleashed many good and bad things in society. And anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
No, definitely not.
I mean, I guess for the people that probably don't know what was your kind of beginning in the industry. Like, how did you enter into being a DP?
I mean, the beginning is I don't know. That's a kind of unknown question, really, because it could be from when I watched a film that was was
out there. What was that film?
I honestly can't remember. It could have been Fantasia.
Yeah,
I remember going to see Fantasia, and my dad took me, and it was just like, what the hell's going on here? It could have been any number of Disney films.
Yeah.
Could have been Superman.
I've got video clips that, I don't personally, but my parents have, of me as a kid, was transfixed on Fantasia. I think it was definitely one of those films that, pushed. It was something completely different. Do you know what I mean? To any other kind of film we'd ever seen before. It was amazing.
Yeah. I don't know. I count myself very lucky having been a cinema goer in that period. I mean, I think the thing that I find quite fascinating, and I sort of talk about a lot is the relevance of films, the relevance of individual pieces of art, and how modern society has lessened that relevance. It's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a great thing because there's so much content out there. There are so many films out there. The choice is amazing. But when I was going to the cinema as a child, there was very sort of little to see. And I remember going to a little 3-screen cinema with my parents, and Raiders of the Lost Ark would have been on. And the next month you went, and that might have still been on, so
Yeah.
you went to see that again, and then the next week it was probably still on, so you went to see that again, and then the next week it might have been ET. So then, and that's there was no choice. You just went to see stuff again and again, and it really made it quite a special thing, an event.
Do you feel though that has like the evolution into what it is now? I mean, the amount of like.
I'll tell you the worst. I'll tell you the worst thing about it, Joe, is this.
Yeah.
When I was watching television as a child in the sort of, early 80s, late 80s, and there were just 4 channels.
Yeah.
It wasn't watching television in an average household. I don't think it was a very democratic process. It was you watched it and that was what you did, and what was on that television, you had no say over that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Nowadays, a child will go off and watch something on their phone, on Netflix,
Yeah,
or on their iPad, and they can do that anywhere because they've got 4G or whatever. They'll go in the garden and do that. But it wasn't democratic. So often you were forced into. I remember being forced into watching very powerful documentaries like Panorama and World in Action. And it could be from anything about the IRA to who knows what.
Yeah.
But you'd watch these things as a small child, and I think that has an effect on one's intelligence. I don't know.
Oh no, 100%, definitely.
But or your view of the world, or I don't know. But then you could question what is intelligence, and what is intelligence changing? Is it irrelevant to be intelligent as per 80s, 90s to now?
Yeah, I mean, I think an interesting one, because obviously back then, I think you were fed the information that you like. You know what I mean? That democracy kind of fed you a certain demographic of information, whereas now kids these days, they have any form of information at their fingertips. Like, they can get whatever they want, but then also then that does what you said. They can go off and just, they're not forced to look at, interesting, more intellectual things. They're just looking at, videos of cats on YouTube or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely. But I remember watching television in my household was an event.
Yeah.
And if your parents let you watch something, that if there was a vote on what you wanted to watch, whether it was Knight Rider or the A-Team or whatever, or the Generation Game or Morecambe and Wise, I'm sure lots of people are listening going, what the hell is he talking about? But it was like, holy crap, we're gonna watch Knight Rider, and it's 7 p.m. and then I'll have to go to bed.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. But sometimes your dad would cut it off. He'd be like, sorry, I want to watch the news. I want to check out what Margaret Thatcher's been doing to the coal miners. And it'd be like, damn, oh my God, and it was devastating. But then you'd be watching the news and you'd be like, what is going on? Who are these people fighting and rioting on the streets? And it was like, Jesus, what's going on here?
Well, yeah. And I mean,
which is a good thing. It's a really good thing.
100%. And I guess you couldn't then, catch up on Knight Rider because it wasn't on again. You had to.
Well, exactly. And that whole process of it's little things. It's like it's waiting for a Tuesday when another episode of a show is on, and it becoming that anticipation. There are things that we felt back then that kids will never feel. One of them being anticipation. I mean, will children feel anticipation the way that we felt it? I don't know. Will kids get bored? I've got a small child, and I've got a 6-year-old, and I love to see her reaction when she gets bored. When we go on long drives, I refuse to give her an iPad or a phone, and if she wants some colouring in pens and crayons and whatever, I'll let her do that. But often I just enjoy watching her sit and look out the window, because I know that that's doing amazing things to her mind. Because I remember being bored on a Sunday morning, and it was incredible. And not at the time you're bored, so it's not good. There's nothing worse than being bored.
Well, I guess what they're actually doing is just taking in the world, for what it is there and then in that moment.
Yeah, and it's your mind it's forming your mind. It's kind of like it's like ice. It's like water turning into ice. It's forming into a thing. And I remember looking out of a window and watching the trees sway and birds cooing and whatever, and wondering what's out there, and just sitting there. Again, will children get to do that and have that feeling of boredom? Who knows? Anyway.
Maybe with a VR headset on, you never know.
Yeah. Exactly. But no, it's so. Look, I mean, look now. I guess where it comes into relevance as a cinematographer or a filmmaker is, you again, I've said this many times. You do something, you make a film, and you spend years. A director will spend years on a film.
Yeah.
From pen to final cut. And that film, it becomes a thumbnail on a telephone Netflix app.
Well, or it's kind of. I feel like things are trendy for a lot less time. You know, things are in fashion. You know, they're here today, tomorrow. The next film is coming out straight away. You know.
I mean, the largest cinema chain in the world today, AMC, they've just declared that they're probably going to go bankrupt and have to close every. So unfortunately, the irony is that we're making more and more content than ever, from music videos to fashion films to idents to little documentaries and high-end things, and cameras are great and the lenses are superb, and Netflix are coming out with film after film and series after series of amazing things, and that's awesome. But unfortunately, their relevance will be severed.
Yeah.
It used to be that you could name all the. And this is how I feel anyway. But you could name all the Oscar winners, from like '84. I think it was Out of Africa, and then it was Chariots of Fire, and blah blah blah. And winning an Oscar was great, but I haven't got a clue who won the Oscar 3 years ago.
No.
I mean, do you know? Was it Moonlight? Who knows? Was it?
Well, yeah, either that. Yeah, it must have been. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think it was Moonlight, by the way.
There was but there's like your point is there's just so many films out in those 3 years. You know what I mean? Tough to even remember. Yeah, no, definitely.
Well, it becomes that thing becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, but it's good. So you have to. It's good because people like myself and other DPs, and I was given a great opportunity at the end of last year. I don't think I would have got had it been different, to work with a very good director on a huge thing, and that was a privilege. But it'll get released. There'll be a little as it gets out there.
Yeah.
And very quickly that will be just flushed out, and the next thing will come, and the next thing will come, and that's what it is. But it used to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Even music videos back in the sort of early 2010s. I remember when music videos from like Roman Gavras, Mia Bad Girls would come out, and for weeks people were talking about Mia Bad Girls, and you'd watch it, and that was the video of. And now every single day it's something different. And anyway.
Yeah. I mean, well, that kind of time period, I guess, that era in music videos. I mean, you were yourself were very like prevalent in making a lot of music videos in that time. From what I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, do you equate kind of music videos largely to your kind of start in the career?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Yeah, I think it's where most people start.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people start, and it's a training ground. It's a place to make mistakes and carve yourself out as a human being, and carve out your mindset and who you are.
Are there any mistakes in your mind that you can remember that you look back on and think, oh gosh?
Yeah, just anger.
Yeah.
Just like I wish I would have been a little less angry, but it wasn't really anger. It was passion, misinterpreted as anger inside my mind. And I was never horrible to anyone. It was just I would become very frustrated with things and not snap occasionally, but become quite snappy to certain people. And I'd always apologize, but there's just no excuse. And I think now I'm just like, it's going to rain. Okay, whatever. I don't care.
Right,
But it's not like I don't care.
No.
It's just what can you do? There's nothing you can do, and getting angry ain't going to change anything. So you just kind of sit there and go, well, let's just see what happens. Let's see what it's like when we shoot. I mean, it's been sunny all week, and I'm doing a shoot on Monday, and it's probably going to rain. And I remember the producer told me what the weather report was going to be, and I was like, okay, yeah, well, that's fine. But a few years ago, I would have been like, oh, for fuck's sake, fuck. But it's just that tiny little mindset. It's not worth letting it make your hair a bit grayer.
No. Especially something like the rain, something you can't control. It's out of your control. I mean,
yeah, but even budgets, even like lack of budget, even like having, the great thing about music videos was having to do so much with so little, and I think those DPs who came up through music videos in a strong way, and were able to create incredible images with very little. That's a true test. I always look at the reels of music video. I always look at music. When I'm looking at reels from DPs, I look at their music videos and I judge them on that, because that's the true test.
Yeah,
I think. So
I mean, I guess anyone can make something look nice if you've got, 150, 200, 500K on a commercial. You've got 500 quid and you can make it look amazing. So.
Well, what's going on now is it's almost like the cameras are so good and the lenses are so good and the latitudes are so good, and everything's so good that anyone can pick up something and just shoot something outside and make it look good. They can buy a camera and buy a lens and grade it in their home, and it can look very professional, and that is a good thing. I mean, all through history, directors have talked about, the democratization of cinema, and Coppola talks about it. The young kid getting the camera and blah blah blah, but it was never democratic. It was always a difficult thing to become involved with. To actually to learn and how to operate and be a specialist on a film camera is an extremely hard thing to do. You've got to either buy one, which who could back in the day because they're so expensive, or you had to go to a film school to train on it, and that was hard enough. So how'd you do it? It was kind of unfathomable almost.
Do you think that access has created saturation in the market in terms of
it just depends. Look, if it's obviously very competitive, but I think talent will still shine through. I think the only bad thing is the kind of unaccessibility of a 35. I remember when I first saw a 35mm camera, it was like seeing the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. It was just, what the fuck is that? Oh my god!
Yeah.
And I remember just like, so
they had I guess an old old 35mm camera. They have a presence. Do you know what I mean? With the mag on there and all built up with the matte box.
Well, the people surrounding that camera, who operate it, who load it and put it on and lace it and thread it and clean it and polish it, the skill set involved with those people is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes years and years and years to learn and trust, and to, you know, for the producer to feel comfortable, because there's so many things that can go wrong.
Well,
You
yeah.
know, I've seen mags fall off cameras during shots and film spool out of cameras and things. But now nothing can go wrong. The only thing you can really do wrong is format is fuck up a camera card. But that's very difficult to do, because you back it up straight away. You know, so yeah.
There was
But
definitely a like you said, a skill set. You know what I mean? There was
yeah,
there was always that kind of saying as well. Even I feel like it comes down it goes up the ladder, even with like, I don't know whether to, you know, you can't dummy down the career of the cinematographer now, but there's always that thing of like, people used to say that when they were shooting 35, you know, the DP was a bit more of a presence on set, because no one
yeah,
really knew
which
what
I
it was
think
ever
is
going to look like. It was, you know, you just had to trust in his
yeah.
word.
Look, I don't think that's a good thing, because the one thing I've learned is how irrelevant the DP is. The DP is so, I'm going to swear here, so fucking irrelevant. Honestly, they really, really are. Because, and I tell you why, because there are so many things more important to put in front of that camera before you put a DP next to that camera. And the simple fact of the matter is, there are incredible films out there, mind-blowing films that I've just been so caught up in, that are badly shot.
Yeah.
You know, and but the acting and the script and the dialogue and the locations are just incredible. I mean, you know, some of Soderbergh's films
Yeah.
that he directs and shoots, like Behind the Candelabra, is a, I mean, it's not terribly shot, but
No.
it's pretty bad. He has this habit of not giving a crap about how blown out things are behind windows, and
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and it's just, some of the cameras are a bit shonky and the grading's just weird, and he just has these weird choices. And as a DP, I look at Behind the Candelabra and I think, you know, but every performance in that film, from Matt Damon to Scott Bakula to Douglas, they're incredible.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there are films out there that are incredibly well shot, that just bore me to death.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I say the cinematography is kind of irrelevant,
Do you think?
or not important.
Yeah. No. Definitely. Yeah. But do you think that kind of revelation has evolved and is part of the reason that maybe that other frustrations on set now have relaxed slightly more? Do you think that's in turn kind of thing? Those two things have gone together.
Say the question again, Joe.
So I mean, you were mentioning before this part that,
Yeah.
you know, that in the past you would have maybe got more frustrated at certain aspects on set, or
No, it's called getting old.
Okay, yeah.
That's all it is. It's called getting old and having a child and realizing, you know, it's still important to me.
Yeah.
But it's just not quite as important. You know, I still like to immerse myself in low budget promos. I did one just before lockdown in Calgary, and it was the usual: no time, no crew, no this, no that, running around like a headless chicken. And it's more kind of the heartache. I mean, the number of times that I've immersed myself in a music video, and the thing hasn't been released because an artist has got to be in his bonnet.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember going to Nashville with a lovely director called James Lees, and we shot this music video for a band who I can't really say, and it was a very powerful music video about gun control, 3 interweaving narratives. The budget was tiny. I spent 10 days out there for free. I turned down a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you work hard, and the band didn't like it, and it couldn't be released. And the poor director tried to get it released in another way.
Yeah.
Even offered to buy and the band went no. And the problem is then you've got nothing.
Yeah.
If you do a commercial and they pay you properly for those 10 days, at least you've got a slightly nicer bank account, and you can feed off that reward, and you're like, oh well, whatever.
I think I think all jobs, there's just different aspects of compensation, isn't there? Like you're always compensated, and you got to just make sure that each job you're doing is for a type of compensation. You choose jobs. Maybe you choose to do that job because you hope. Unfortunately, in this aspect, didn't sound like you were, but you hope that you're compensated in terms of having a great end article. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, exactly. That's always the best conversation. But I guess what I'm saying is after that's happened to you on quite a few promos, in which it has, you then get offered another one, and you just think, well, do I want to do this promo, or do I want to do the Gatorade commercial in Canada for X amount of money? And unfortunately, it just starts to make you a bit more wary and shy of having that heartbreak again. But when it goes right, it's the best thing. When you go and do a low budget music video somewhere in the world, and it's just absolute chaos and pandemonium, and you're riding by the seat of your pants, and the thing comes out, and it's a beautiful cohesion of music and image. It's just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is nice when when it all pays, all that hard work definitely pays off in the end.
Yeah. So,
I mean, do you have a formula for like picking jobs, or is there like a checklist, like obviously not going to be a physical checklist, but is there like a mental checklist you have in terms of like if things are clashing quite heavily, you've got to pick one job out of 3 that are there on the table?
Yeah, it's usually about a director, and there are certain directors who you just kind of gel with. There are certain directors who you don't really have to read a treatment. You just know it's going to be a good experience.
Yeah.
And that you just kind of like, so for example, I've worked a lot with Henry Hobson, and I just know that every location deck I see from Henry is going to be incredible. I know that if the premise of the commercial is a family in a home, I just know that it's going to be this beautiful textures, and I know that just everything's going to be just amazing. And it's the same with other directors like Benito or Vince or whoever. It's just certain directors have just taste, and really good taste.
And I guess that comes down even to the jobs that they're sending your way. I mean, I guess you kind of already, before you even look at a treatment, that it's not going to be some kind of plain old Jane kind of job. Maybe it's those directors are bringing you something.
Yeah, look, sometimes you'll get a treatment from a director who is a hero.
Yeah.
Like you just think, oh my God, this guy's penciled me. And then you see a treatment and it loads in, and you read it, and you're like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
And then you think, well, should I do this? Because the next one might be good. And it's a hard one. I've done jobs where I've fallen into that trap, and that director he's doing that job just to pay his mortgage.
Yeah.
And it can be a very unpleasant experience because commercials are tough, really, really tough. And a lot of times directors are compromising. So if a director's there only for the money, he's not in a good place for whatever. Yeah. Anyway, and maybe I'm generalizing, but you get the drift.
No, 100%. I think that comes down to like, us as well as, cameramen. It's tough to, you've got to make sure that every job you're going into, you put in your heart, in heart and soul into like the imagery. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise, you're not going to be there. You're not going to be fully involved. You're not going to be fully committed. And, those 10 days for free aren't going to be happening. Even if they're, even if you're getting paid, you've got to be putting that same kind of effort in. Whereas, if you are doing a job that's 10 days for free, but you really believe in it, give it your all, because you want to make it worth the while, the fact that you're there.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, going back to the whole camera democratization thing. I think it's great that kids can. Christ, if I was 20 and I could have saved up to buy a this camera or that camera, and the quality would have been just amazing. It would have been awesome. But I do think I think I was going to say I think the only bad thing it does is I think the crew system. I think learning from the bottom and making cups of tea and being humble, and then having the chance to load, and then having a chance to focus pull, and then I think the years it takes to do that. Some might say that's very, very frustrating and it's not fair, and they're right. But what it does is it makes you see every single person on set, because you start off as a loader or a camera trainee, and you're there with the runners and the production assistants and the art department runners, and you're there talking and gossip, and then you go up, and so you really, 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 really get a good idea of all the assets and all the way people are, and that's so important to just plunk. Now you're a DP. Like you wouldn't how do you know what to do? And being a human, a good human, and an understanding human as a DP is so important. It's massively important.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I was a loader for a long time, and you could tell when you were working with a DP who hadn't, come up through the ranks. They just there was certain things, and I think that's the thing when you come up through the crew system, you learn things that you wouldn't necessarily learn that are, a technical aspect of being a DP. Do you know what I mean? Like call it set etiquette or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And just an appreciation of other people on set. Like you really learn, that runner isn't just a runner. There's someone who's, working hard as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all I wanted to say on that thing.
No, completely. Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, you mentioned buying a camera when you were in your 20s. Like, what were you doing in your 20s? Like, where were you?
So I remember I went to Australia, and I kind of, I think I'd applied to film school. Yeah, I was like, I'd answered a job as a runner in Edinburgh where I was living. I got in. So I was running on stuff for Napier, the Scottish Film School, and I got in with some guys from there, and they were like, "You should go to one of these places," and they said, "Go to either Westminster or Newport or Surrey, places where you actually shot on film, and edited on Steenbecks and all old school stuff." And I applied and got in, but getting in was a bit of a miracle, to be honest with you. I think every big moment or every sort of important crossroad, I've seemed to just stumble upon with luck.
Right.
But I think that's most people. I think, I don't know, but
it's true. I think luck plays, and like being in the right place at the right time, and it plays a massive part in any aspect, in career and all that.
For example, I went to film school for my interview, and I'm sat in a corridor, and I'm supposed to be interviewed by a gentleman who is the head of film history, and for some reason he was late, and the head of cinematography came by and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm waiting for my interview." And he looks around, looks at his clock, and he goes, "Oh, sorry, I'll interview you." So I'm in a room with him, and it was like, he was like, "What do you love about?" I said, "Cinematography," and he was like, "Well," asking me questions, and I knew them, and it was cinematography, and I got in. Excellent. But if the other guy had been on time and interviewed me, I probably wouldn't have got in. And so, do you see what I'm saying? That's insane.
No, definitely. Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. And all the other film schools rejected me. Everyone else rejected me except this one place, Farnham, and getting in with it was that's a miracle, I think.
Yeah.
And then getting into film school was great, and you meet people, and so but when I was in Australia, I actually did an apprenticeship at Panavision for a few weeks, and that was great.
Yeah.
And then I bought myself an old 16mm BL, with some money that I'd saved up working in restaurants. So I took that to film school with me, and having my own 60mm camera at film school was amazing.
Yeah.
Because everyone was like, "Oh, we want to make films outside of the course."
Yeah.
But the college wouldn't let you take any Bolexes or SR3s or anything outside of the course. So they looked to me, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, by the way. I literally didn't know what I was doing.
Well, at least you had it though. All the gear, no idea.
Well, it just having working 16mm all the time just gives you confidence, and and I remember like one of the biggest opportunities I got. It was shooting a music video for a band called the Doves back in 2009.
Yeah.
And this was a huge opportunity. I remember the budget was tiny, and the producer was like, "We can't really afford to give you, if you want to shoot on film, we can't afford to give you any assistance." And I was like, "It's fine, I can do it myself." And I could do everything myself at that point. I could load it, prep the camera, do steady tests, do focus tests, clean everything, load the film, focus, pull, operate, DP. I did it all myself, and that was a culmination of all the years of insanity. Do you know what I mean?
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you, in terms of that kind of crew aspect of it, do you find your crew very key to the success of your shoots?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. 100%. I mean, you're nothing. You're literally nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, this, you really feel it when you're on a shoot. Yeah, God, it's so interesting when you meet bad crews, and it's just like a heavy weight. So, for example, I'd just done 3 months on this big show with Rupert Sanders, and I had pick of the whatever, and I had my Steadicam guy, Fletch, with me for 3 months, and having him operate Steadicam for 3 months, it was just like effortless.
Andrew Fletcher.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I definitely agree. I mean, and even having like a focus puller that you haven't worked with before, or not necessarily one you haven't worked with before, but one you just don't feel confident with.
Yeah.
I can remember so many times when you're all, instead of thinking about what you're getting on the camera, you're just worried about what they're doing more than
of course.
And to be the person to take that weight off of you and just know everything's all right.
But I remember doing this music video back in March, just before lockdown, and I won't say where it was filmed, but it was filmed somewhere very remote, and our choices for Steadicam weren't big. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was very remote, very cold. And I remember going to Panavision to meet the Steadicam up, and he was lovely. He was a really, really nice guy, very young.
Yeah.
And he knew what he was doing. But then we got to and I remember me and the director were talking about certain shots, and I was like, it's all dependent on Steadicam. And so I met him, and he was fine. And I said, okay, we're going to be okay. But you just don't know. And then the very first shot, and he started moving with the camera, and we were just like, oh my God, oh Jesus Christ. And so everything you literally are then making it up as you go along.
Yeah.
Because everything that we planned just went out the window because you've got this enormous thorn in your shoe.
Yeah.
And that's tough. And we still got a good video out of it. We still got something really good, but we had to control this guy.
Yeah.
And with real kid gloves, because if we'd have got angry, that wouldn't have done anything good. And look, he was a lovely, lovely, lovely guy, and kind of by the end of it, I think he got a little bit more confidence, and he was doing a little bit better. But that first day was just whoa.
I think that sometimes makes it even worse as well when they're such a nice person that you just want to be.
I guess so, yeah.
Just want to be like, come on.
But look, every yeah, you're so again doing this big TV thing with Rupert, having like enormous sets, the sets that I'd never experienced before in my life, and the amount of lights that I had, and the massive 100-foot LED walls and all that kind of stuff. That made me realize how important the gaffer was.
Yeah.
So there were times when things kind of fell apart, and I not through anyone's fault. They were just, something happened.
Yeah.
And I had to do a very quick about face in terms of my lighting plan, and I'd be like, can you put something up there? And he was like, I'm on it, don't worry. And he'd already thought about it. He'd already, he'd ordered things that you wouldn't even think of ordering, in case you got yourself in a pickle. His name was Barry Conroy. He's amazing.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
It was we shot a pilot for this thing for Skydance and Apple Plus, and Rupert is a director who I really, really love and admire. I think Snow White and the Huntsman and Ghost in the Shell are epic films, and his commercials are brilliant. And I mean, God knows why he chose me, to be honest with you, but he did, and I got thrown right into the deep end. But it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, great.
So
nice.
Yeah.
I mean, so then, is that the feature kind of drama world? Is that something you're moving towards more and more?
I think we have to. I mean, I think you can't do music videos and commercials forever. I think some DPs are happy doing that for a long time, but I have a real need to do something a little more.
Yeah.
And I'm drawn to scripts, and I'm drawn to telling stories, and I'm drawn to being a small part of a kind of larger thing. There's a real sort of satisfaction when you're working on something like that, because that's true filmmaking.
Yeah.
When you're constructing a scene, and you've got world-class actors and amazing sets, and you've read a script, and you're there on the day, and you've got half a day to get this little one-page bit of dialogue, and it's just, that's a real thrill. That's amazing filmmaking. That's the best part of it for me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, but it's not for everyone.
Well,
I think most people want to get to that point. They do, but there's plenty of DPs who I admire who haven't shot films at all.
Yeah.
So it's horses for course. Sometimes it's out of your control. Sometimes you things happen in your life, your personal life, that means you have to take it a certain way.
Yeah, I think from when I've looked at your past work, I think not past work, but recent work. I think I always think that it's definitely in that aspect of your commercials that you do. They are all have that kind of story aspect, a lot of them, to them. I mean, thinking about the National Lottery one you did, and the Levi's jeans, the vote one that you did. I think, and that is for me personally, is in a commercial world, is like a dream. They're dream jobs. Do you know what I mean? Somewhere where you can be on a commercial, have that kind of commercial backing, but you're able to tell a story. Do you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure on the National Lottery, you guys did almost like a little short film.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the director was very insistent on making it all real. So everything you see in terms of the carnage is real.
Yeah.
We were out on a boat for a day, and it was just pretty horrendous conditions. Yeah.
I mean, when go on.
No, you go.
I mean, I was going to lead on. I mean, I'm quite interested to know how, when you see a treatment like that, and you with the director, what is your kind of first thought in terms of, on a technical aspect? What's your first thought on when you see?
I'm not really technical, to be honest with you. A lot of people sort of ask me technical questions, and I haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I make things up as I go along, and I don't really give a crap about the camera.
Yeah.
I really don't care. If a director says, I want to shoot this on Alexa, I'll be like, fine, cool. We'll shoot on Alexa. If they want to shoot on a Red, we'll shoot on a Red.
Yeah.
I kind of care about the lenses. I I think you know, I have a real fondness for anamorphic lenses because there's such a richness about them. I think it's such a unique way of viewing the world.
Yeah.
And so if I'm shooting something 4:3, I'll use anamorphics. If I'm shooting something 16:9, I'll use anamorphics. If I, you know, that's just what I use.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, a job like that comes in, and you just think, okay, well, we probably need a small camera, and then you just get some nice fast lenses, and then you kind of think about that, and you go on the scouts, and it's pretty easy, really. I think as long as you've got a decent director, you who trusts you, it can be easy. It's hard when the director doesn't trust you.
Yeah.
You know, you're saying something for a reason. If you see 3 locations, I know instantly whether something's good or not. Instantly, like click.
Yeah.
And I could be looking through 15 locations. Scrap. You get to number 13. This is the one.
Yeah.
And someone says why? Well, you just go because it is. And if you have to explain it, well, you say, okay, well, you look at the texture on the wall. You look at the fact that there's only windows on one side. You look at the ceiling height. You see the exteriors. There's plenty of space to put lights. There's nothing on it's on the ground floor, so you don't have to get horrible scissor lifts.
Yeah.
Producer's going to be happy. All these things just add up, and you just know instantly where they're.
I think that's like something though. As much as it's like you're saying, oh, you try to explain it to them. I think that's something that comes in doing it for so long. You just you get an eye for like what will work and what won't work, and also what will look good and what won't look good in the end.
Yeah, but look, here's the thing: you can work with a director who, if you do a job with a director and every single location that you're doing, every scene is a struggle.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got differing tastes, and if you choose to work with that director again, then it's probably not a very good idea. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I've often been proved wrong. I've often let a director take me somewhere, and I've been like, wow, you showed me something then. I'll never forget as a focus puller, I did this. I focused on this film called The Great Ecstasy of Robert Carmichael. It's a very small British film, but the DP was a chap called Yorgos Arvanitis, who'd done all of Theo Angelopoulos' films. So he'd done Ulysses Gay's Eternity in a Day.
Yeah.
So to work with this guy was like, wow. I was extremely young. And I remember we did the film, and it was like long takes, and there was no coverage. And I remember all the crew would sort of take the piss out of the director, who was very, very sort of scruffy and a bit mumbly and a bit awkward, and he didn't do much coverage. And I remember, like, you know, for like 6 weeks, it was this kind of like tee hee hee thing. And I remember watching the film. I went to the premiere in Soho, and I saw it, and it blew me away. And I had to go up to the director, and he knew what was happening or what had happened. And I remember going up to him saying, I am so sorry for the way that I behaved. I think you've created a masterpiece. And he thanked me. and I felt it was such a humbling, embarrassing experience. And I felt so ashamed that I judged him because I was so naive and so stupid. And that was a real eye opener. That was a real interesting experience for me.
Yeah, no, I think it can happen sometimes. You know what I mean? Like things don't always look, or feel how they're going to be. You can judge things quite often from the surface, and you've got to look deeper than that and see, that a lot of people are, they're making these decisions for a lot of reasons. You know what I mean? When it comes to being, a DP director, relationship, at first you might not really understand or recognize why that director's making that decision or making that call, but sometimes you just got to step back and kind of
Yeah,
their eyes maybe.
exactly, and I think yeah, it's just I remember when I did I Am Mother, it was kind of like that.
Yeah.
In the kind of the enormity and the meticulousness of the shoot. I was very much in the hands of the director. He let me light it exactly as I wanted, but there was sort of, yeah, it's a hard one to explain. But
I mean,
he had the whole thing envisioned out. He had it all storyboarded, Grant.
it's quite interesting maybe to talk about I Am Mother a little bit, because would you say it was your kind of first big feature?
I guess so, yeah. But it was. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. To get to that point of shooting I Am Mother was a real accident.
Right.
In that I was supposed to do. So I'd done Kissing Candice, which was a very small, UK indie film. Beautiful acting, amazing everything, and Aoife and all that kind of stuff. Just like blew me away. And then
and a struggle as well, I imagine. Just
of course, absolutely. Oh God, yeah.
I've heard some stories from Era and stuff, how it was a one of those painful pleasures of working on a like that.
But so my next film should have been like a 1 to 2, 3 million, and then it was all sort of set up, and I think basically what happened is I got asked to do a very big Hollywood film, like a huge with an all-star cast, Clive Owen, Rosamund Pike, like huge actors, and suddenly I'm on board for this thing, and it just felt weird, and it didn't. Anyway, look, to cut a long story short, I'm not sure if I was fired or I'm not sure if I walked off. It was kind of a combination.
Okay.
But me and the producers rubbed each other up the wrong way, and anyway, I ended up not doing that film.
Right.
And then very soon after I'd walked away from that film, I get offered this beautiful script about a young African American kid in New York who witnesses a police beating, a brutal beating.
Right.
And it was like, wow, this film's good. This is really good. And I had a really amazing talk with the director. And anyway, I told him what had happened on this film, and because we were very close, it was our third conversation, and then he must have said something to someone, and suddenly the financiers are very nervous about me. And it was just like, what have I done? Jesus. So that was a real interesting lesson. And so obviously I didn't get to do that film. And then literally a day or two after that experience, I get this script, I Am Mother, and I just kind of jumped on it.
Yeah.
And sort of did it. So I didn't look for it. It just found me when I was crying in a corner somewhere.
Yeah. It was all the stars slowly aligned to get you on
but even that film could have, like, there was a point on that film where I was, what am I doing here in Adelaide? And it was 2 weeks to go. We didn't have a leading lady, and suddenly from out the blue, like 2 weeks to go, Hilary Swank signs on. And I was like, holy shit. So that was, like I said before, it's all just luck, blind luck. I guess.
I mean, you'd obviously done, commercials of that scale before, in terms of budgets and that kind of thing, in line with, time on screen. But did you, going into it, was there a different kind of approach to the kind of commercial work you'd done, or or did you just
really? It's just cinematography. I mean, whether you're doing it for a promo or a fashion, it's just how, I think you just got to be a bit sort of, how can I describe it? It just is what it is. I think I think it's the language of cinema is something that you can learn either very quickly, or it's hard to pick up, and it's interesting seeing, it's interesting when you go on a scout and you're with a director and you go, cool, so we'll do this, that, blah, 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 coverage, 2-shot, blah, 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 done. And the director's like, what? And you're thinking, okay. To me, I'm not saying I'm some sort of fucking wonderkind, but the language of cinema is pretty simple. But for some people, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
But that said, I'm on set every single day or a lot.
Yeah.
And some directors aren't on set much at all because they're planning and they're editing. So I think you just have to be very understanding.
Yeah.
So just doing a feature film or a commercial, there's very little difference, really. You just as long as you've got a good grasp of the language of cinema and you can construct a scene, then you're going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, definitely.
But Kissing Candice definitely sort of showed that I remember one day on Kissing Candice we were doing a scene where a kid is on a street corner and this gang pulls up to sort of antagonize him.
Yeah.
And the location fell apart literally that morning. I don't know if this is, I can't recall, but it feels like it fell apart that morning. And I remember location manager going, the location's gone. And I remember literally walking briskly around this housing estate. And it was a big scene, like a big, lots of dialogue, like three, four pages maybe.
Yeah.
And literally going, okay, well, they're there, the sun, and literally configuring it all, and in like 5 minutes, and going, okay, that's the spot there, and then thinking, okay, we've got to get that coverage, and at that point the sun will be there, and then we'll do that coverage, and then at that point the sun will be there, and it just all came together, and it was like a little smooth dream that we got this little scene, and that's the kind of thing that kind of makes you realize if you've got it or not.
Yeah.
I may have I could just have easily as panicked,
Well,
but through necessity we kind of got the scene.
But maybe that's something through the years of promos and commercials.
Absolutely.
They're the kind of medium and format where you really do just have to think.
Yeah.
Because you've got a day maybe to shoot something, and
totally
there's no coming back.
Yeah. So, and then the stuff that you have to plan. There are scenes or jobs that you do where everything just has to be meticulously planned, and you can't stray. But I love making it all up in the moment.
Yeah.
That's what I love doing, and I think even on the job with Rupert, there was a lot of that going on, which I enjoyed.
Right. Nice.
So, anyway.
Do you feel like your I don't know what it like style or look as Steve Ennis has changed or evolved over the years, consciously or subconsciously?
I just, it's all, if it has, or even if I have a style, it is very, very subconscious.
Right.
It's interesting looking back at the work that you've done in the past, and kind of a lot of the time you cringe at it, but occasionally you kind of you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm more kind of into sort of. I'm definitely a sort of less is more right now.
Okay.
It's a real challenge to do a scene and not move the camera at all. That's a real challenge.
Yeah. No,
Yeah. I remember a little promo I did. It was just a promo about an old couple in a hospital corridor. You had this old man in a corridor, and the old woman was in bed, and we didn't really have much. We had like a few bits of track and a dolly, and it was really, really interesting, kind of trying to construct this story without a steady cam or a crane or anything. Just they're the, even when I'm watching a film, they're the best moments when the camera doesn't do much, when it just observes a scene. And yeah.
Do you think that's a kind of something that you've grown to love, or is it something like over time? And do do you think kind of has influenced that in a sense? Or because I
I
mean,
don't
if
I
I
don't know.
look back at some of your, as an outsider, some of your like, older kind of promos maybe where they were,
Oh, it's kinetic. They're all very kinetic and busy, aren't they?
held and like you said, anamorphic flares and stuff like that. Whereas
Yeah.
I look down the line at further work now, and I think it is definitely more considered and more
Yeah, because you get bored. You get bored of
yeah.
things. There. I remember doing job after job after job on, say, Alexa with master anamorphics, and then you think, oh God, I'm just a bit bored of this, and so you change it up, and a job happens, and out of necessity, you've got to do it a certain way, and you think, well, that was really nice, and let's try that again. And I remember actually on Levi's. On Levi's, if you notice, the camera hardly ever moves.
Yeah, no.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%.
And the only time the camera moves is if it's attached to a vehicle,
right.
But even then it's not moving per se.
Yeah, well, it's technically static in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just static. And I remember on location with Benito, and I know Benito really, really well, and we've known each other for years. And every single scene he kept going, should we do some handheld on this? And I said, well, why? Why? Well, I think we need a bit more energy. And I said, but we don't.
Yeah.
We don't need it. Let's just, and we kept going as we were. And I remember on the third day, he said, I spoke to my editor, and my editor said maybe we should do some handheld. and I was just like, what is going on? Oh my God. And I just kind of, I kept my head down and ignored him. Because there was just no point. There was one scene at the end where you've got these guys in a car doing donuts.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of needed a bit of handheld for some to sort of extend the energy.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it just didn't need it. So we shot the whole thing static, and it's just I love the craft of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think like with something like that where you've got so much visceral imaging on on the screen in terms of like the locations and the cast that are in it and the subject matter that it's talking about. You know what I mean? It definitely didn't need to be for the audience to be trying to work out what's going on because they can't see because it's handheld. So
yeah. So I think as long as you have a good sort of idea of what you want and you're kind of aware of. Yeah, look, each job is its own little adventure, and who knows what's going to happen. I think a lot of the way that I view work is honestly down to how I feel on set. So if I have a bad experience on set, I guess what I'll say is I've done jobs that have been horrific experiences. And people say, "Oh, I saw this job you did; it's amazing," and I look back at it, and I cannot, for the love of God, look at it with anything but disdain and horridness. Because my experience on that set was so painful. So my emotional how I view a film or whatever I've done is actually quite dependent on the experience on set.
I mean, I think it comes down to even like I think your emotional attachment to any kind of imagery can be connected to your emotional mentality of like where you maybe first saw it or how maybe a film might not be a very good film, but you might have great happy memories of the times when you were watching it and it makes it a good film for you. Do you know what I mean? But then that's working the other way around. You know what I mean? You might have seen a film with a horrible ex-girlfriend and it makes it a horrible film, but it's actually the best film in the world. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, of course.
I think that can work with your own work as well, definitely.
Yeah. So
Well, no, thank you so much for speaking with me, Steve.
Okay.
It's been amazing to pick your brain a bit, and
that's okay.
I think one thing I've always found is that maybe speaking with DPs you maybe look up to or higher up the totem pole than you can be slightly intimidating. But I know that every time we've spoken, it's been an absolute pleasure, and you've been more than open to help or discuss certain challenges that we've been going through. So
well, that's good to know. Thank you for that.
No, it's a nice pleasure to know that I think it's a tough world out there to make it as a DP. So have a bit of help from the top is always useful.
Do you know what I think? I just think for me, someone saying, "Oh, I'm too busy."
Yeah.
It's not that they're too busy. I think it's that they're forgetful. And I get it, because we all think we're so important in this world, but we're so connected, and I'll arrange to call a young DP when I've got an hour to kill at an airport, or when I'm on a train on the way back into town, or you're never ever too busy. But I think it's so important to just talk to people and be nice to people, and share experiences and share knowledge.
Definitely.
I think that's the most important thing.
All right.
So anyway,
no, thank you so much. And I think we could have gone on for hours more. I'll take an hour this time, and maybe another time. But
okay, cool. Let me know when it's out, right?
Of course, no, definitely I will.
Brilliant.
Have a good one, Steve. Thank you so much.
Nice one. Bye.